the way that our system works is specifically a decentralized Oracle service, as well as financial contract design patterns that let people permissionlessly create new kinds of financial products. I'm going to go over some really high-level things today. Basically, our approach to DeFi financial contracts is really quite unique. We call it the priceless paradigm. So I'm going to start by providing some more motivation around the Oracle problem, as well as our proposed solution to that problem, which is using DeFi contracts in a different way, in a way that minimizes Oracle usage under the priceless paradigm. So the TLDR is just that if you're interested in DeFi and if you use DeFi products, unfortunately, DeFi really depends on price feeds. And so if you're using a lending product, for example, most of the protocols out there will basically have contracts where those contracts are going to determine whether somebody is correctly collateralized or not, based on these kinds of corruptible price feeds. And the reality is that we think that using DeFi might be safe because it's non-custodial, but actually it's really not, because of this Oracle issue. Whoever controls the Oracle for a DeFi contract is actually in charge of the final payouts, and can therefore potentially take the money that's inside of these contracts. And so we've actually seen this in practice. Earlier this year was a huge time for all of DeFi. The general idea is one bad Oracle price in your protocol and your whole contract can get wrecked, allowing malicious third parties to steal money from these contracts. So as a point of weakness, there's lots of different ways that things can go wrong. It could simply be non-malicious and technical, like API downtime, or things flash crashes, or it could, of course, be malicious as well. Our general framework to thinking about oracles is actually that it is not a problem that can be perfectly solved. We think that the best that you can really do is create an oracle that has economic guarantees. So what I mean by economic guarantees is if you have a contract and there's money inside of this contract, that money and the payout of that money to different contract counterparties depends on an oracle price, then that's potential profit that somebody could make by corrupting the oracle. Separately, we basically say that there is some amount of money that you could pay to corrupt this oracle. Set a server farm on fire, or bribe the engineer, for example. We call that the cost of corruption. And so our oracle with economic guarantees is based on this economic model of creating a system where the cost of corrupting the oracle exceeds the potential profit that somebody could gain by corrupting the oracle, and therefore creating a safer oracle mechanism. In addition to that, because oracles are so difficult and truly accessing decentralized prices is such a hard problem and an expensive problem at that, we really believe that our approach of creating priceless contracts is one that can be more efficient, performant, and resilient. So what I mean by efficiency here is right now in DeFi contracts, all of these contracts are generally waiting for some oracle price to get pushed to the blockchain. And that oracle price is getting pushed to the blockchain constantly, whether or not it actually needs to get used. Well, the first step then is to just minimize these pushes in the first place, and to simply say every contract counterparty is responsible for ensuring that they have the amount of collateral that is that they're using the system correctly, and they're responsible for maintaining adequate collateralization. So in the happy case, basically, there is no need to push a price in the first place. In the unhappy case, where somebody is not meeting the collateral requirements, in the current paradigm, most DeFi contracts require some oracle price to get pushed, and then you can use a liquidation system like keeper bots. In the MakerDAO example, for example, you'll use a liquidation system that uses that oracle price to then perform a liquidation. But those prices are typically lagged at a minimum, by one block, but practically in certain systems, upwards of multiple hours. And so the way that we think about priceless contracts is different. Instead, liquidators can simply observe the state of all these different positions on the blockchain. That's all public information. And then they can do their off-chain computations to determine whether these contracts are actually correctly collateralized or not. Only if something is incorrectly collateralized somebody can then perform a liquidation, and then only if somebody disputes that liquidation do you actually need an on-chain oracle. Otherwise, both in the happy case and in the liquidated collateral case, you actually don't really need to access a truly decentralized oracle mechanism at all. And then lastly, the way that oracles are used right now is most contracts are using prices on a live basis. So what that means is that in order for these contracts to be performant, crypto is very volatile, they are pushing prices constantly. And if there is some sort of a failure, that failure actually tends to be quite live and quite brief. The way that our priceless contracts are designed is, first, you don't use an oracle in the happy path. Second, even in a liquidation, you only use an oracle if there's a dispute on the liquidation. And then lastly, if there is a dispute on that liquidation, you dispute to an asynchronous system that is asked to figure out the price from a historical time in the past. The huge benefit of this is that the prices themselves can actually be more resilient and accurate. So for example, Coinbase's API Oracle is a really huge contribution to this DeFi space, but even Coinbase, with everything amazing that they've done, is not perfectly resilient. And last year, they experienced a flash crash where the price of ETH went to like something completely insane and out of line with every other exchange. If you were using a live oracle that was pushing prices to the blockchain constantly, or just pulling data straight from their API, that really wouldn't have worked out well for you. A lot of your contracts would have gotten liquidated in very unfairly. If instead you're using an asynchronous oracle and you're resolving to a historical price, say the price from yesterday, then that actually gives the market time to, one, determine that the strict API price differed from broader market consensus, and two, actually correct it. So in Coinbase's case, they actually made users whole for the trades that happened during that flash crash time, basically saying that the prices that were reflected in the market at that time were not accurate prices that reflected the actual prices in the market. So keeping it, just pulling it all together, the way that our system works is we have an UMA token, and UMA holders basically do two things in our system. The first thing they do is support governance. So this means figuring out which prices they're willing to support and which prices they're basically willing to fulfill price requests on. And then the second thing they do is approve contract factories. So these are like boilerplate templates that can be used to create actual financial products. Then over in the blue box on the right, anybody in the market can basically take any arbitrary combination of these different pieces and put them together to create a financial product. So for example, if ETH-BTC is an approved price identifier that UMA holders are willing to support, and the Priceless token factory is an approved template that UMA holders are willing to support, then somebody can combine these two components together to create a Priceless token contract where you can create synthetic tokens that track the level of ETH-BTC. And then anybody in the marketplace can permissionlessly interact with this contract from there. So a token sponsor can deposit collateral and borrow synthetic ETH-BTC tokens. The token sponsor can sell synthetic ETH-BTC tokens to third-party token holders. And then a network of bots that are responsible for performing liquidations, as well as policing those liquidations and disputing them if they're invalid, keep the system whole and functional. As I mentioned, the second thing that UMA holders are basically asked to do is to actually resolve the price requests that come from priceless contracts in the first place. And the way that works is if you have a priceless token contract, they pay ongoing fees, we call them taxes, to the DVM store. These fees are then used to buy and burn UMA tokens. And so over time, the UMA holders are basically incentivized to actually vote on price requests and resolve token contract disputes accurately, because the more that they do so, the more that volume in their token contracts will grow, and the more that fees will actually ultimately accrue to this system. So this is a very, very quick and high-level overview of the Oracle problem, the priceless paradigm, and how things fit together within the UMA ecosystem. The UMA token and the DVM are live on mainnet. The first Priceless token factory is currently in discussion and audit, and hopefully going to go live on mainnet very soon as well, pending, of course, UMA token holder governance approval. And so we're really excited to really evangelize this more blockchain native way of creating DeFi products on Ethereum. And we're excited to hear from you. Right now, there's a couple of things that are out in our ecosystem that we would love community feedback on. The first is UMA token distribution. The vast majority of UMA tokens right now, we want to actually give out in the form of grants for people that are performing work in the system, whether that work is creating new and interesting contract factories, or creating new and interesting synthetic token products or interfaces for those products. And so, and then we're also, of course, hiring as always. So please feel free to reach out to me, Twitter, email, DMs are always open, and thanks for your time.